Hi, this is Tom Eschen, the host of this Power in Politics podcast, the conversation about the issues that are impacting New Yorkers the most and beyond, with the people that are making those decisions and holding them accountable accordingly. Today, we speak with Anthony Constantino, the co-founder and CEO of Sticker Mule in Amsterdam. This is fresh off of his sign lighting ceremony on Monday, where the sign says, "Vote for Trump." It came with much controversy. We asked him about that, the process he went through in getting the city permits, and if he went through that process at all, according to the mayor. We asked him why he put the sign up, how it symbolizes manufacturing, and how it unifies people according to him. And the one question I did ask is why a Democrat would appreciate this sign. So stay tuned for all of that and more, but be sure to subscribe to Power in Politics wherever you get your podcasts, or you can watch on the CBS 6 Albany YouTube page. Mr. Constantino, thank you so much for coming on with us today.
Very happy to be here.
And just to catch people up, let's begin there. I know JT just mentioned it briefly, but you put the sign up, had the lighting ceremony on Monday. What was the motivation behind this endeavor that you've undertaken?
Ever since a bullet hit Trump in the head, I've been doing everything I can to try to stop anti-Trump hate, and I think the best way you can do it is to speak up in a respectful way and say you like him. A lot of people have been scared to say it, so I put a sign on my building that really signifies, there was a sign before that symbolized American manufacturing going to China. The old company that used to be there was a found sign. They left and packed up everything and went to China when I was just 2 years old. And so I put another sign up that symbolizes American manufacturing returning and free speech now too.
Why vote for Trump in that vein, in that light?
Trump's been on the forefront encouraging manufacturing to come back to America. He's been fighting in a lot of ways, and he's been inspiring people to bring it back too. He inspired me to work extra hard to bring 1,000 manufacturing jobs to Amsterdam.
You have done in your business, you've brought those jobs. Though Trump in 2019, he lost under his administration almost 43,000 manufacturing jobs towards the end of his tenure. What makes you believe that sign represents manufacturing?
It's really funny when people bring that up, because everyone knows there was a thing called the pandemic.
This was the year before the pandemic.
Yeah, there was a thing called the pandemic.
This was the year before,
okay.
Though. Pandemic hadn't hit yet.
There was a lot of things at play affecting what's going on in the United States, and people hit Trump all over the place on what happened during the pandemic. And so there's things that happened, there's a lot of things at play. And the other thing I can say is, as far as stuff like this, there's all sorts of phony numbers that come out when people are trying to hit Trump. So I can't speak to that. I can speak to the fact that people hit him over phony numbers about what happened after the pandemic. People say he hurt jobs in America, but he had the best jobs numbers of anyone.
Those numbers were released during Trump's tenure. I should just make sure we say that. Let's go back to the local municipality, though, in terms of some of the barriers that you've had to go across to be able to get this sign lit and up. And I know up until the moment of the lighting, you said you weren't sure what was going to happen. We know the city of Amsterdam had filed for a restraining order, code violations. What process did you go through to get this sign up and lit?
Sure, I got a front row seat to how difficult it is to be an outsider trying to do something political and trying to help somebody named President Trump, who's also an outsider, because as soon as I got this sign up there, I moved very quickly, and I like to do interesting and exciting things, and that sign brought a lot of excitement to the community. And as soon as the excitement started building, my mayor hit me with a restraining order, trying to block me from showing the sign. I had to cover up the sign for 2 days under threat of going to jail, and luckily I had a great lawyer that stepped in and saved the day and got me to unveil the sign. But if I didn't have a great lawyer, and a lot of people wouldn't have the lawyer I had, I might be in jail right now instead of here with you.
The mayor says you've gone through processes before. Everything's been good with your company in Amsterdam, of course. Why, in this case, he said that you could have applied for variances. You could have done this or that after meeting with them in August, but they didn't hear from you. Why not just go through the process here and avoid all that?
Sure, that's a great question. I have a company with 1,200 people, and I like to do big, interesting things, and I got a great team behind me that handles all the details, and the team told me I was within my rights to put up the sign. They put the sign up, and it's a beautiful sign, and someone told me, a local journalist told me he never saw an outpouring of support like I had for the sign. Almost everybody likes the sign. So,
and everybody likes it, but to comply with what the city, their code is,
yeah.
Why not just do that this time around?
We did comply with the city code. I got a great legal team, and the mayor did something. He hit me with a restraining order, and the judge ended up saying we were right and he was wrong. So we did everything right, and the mayor ended up being the one that was wrong.
Are you anticipating more issues coming along the way? I know city court could have a say in this, and more code violations could come.
I don't get to do all the things I do in life working on these little small legal details. So I work on big picture stuff I want to say, and I try to do things that are exciting and fun and elevating for everybody. And that's what I'm doing. You know, the lawyers handle the minutia, and so far the lawyer's been right and the mayor was wrong.
You think the mayor, I think you mentioned this, was a political and for him side of things to try and push back against this?
I think so. That's what I've been told. You know, people tell me he's got something. I don't like to say it, but there's a thing called TDS. They tell me he has that. I don't know personally. I've never spoken to him about Trump.
I don't know what that is. What does that mean?
People know what it is, but you know, I've been told that's what he has, and I've never spoken to him personally.
Is that a slant? Is that something that we should be talking about here?
I mean, people know what that is, and so there's a situation we got in this country where a lot of people are wound up about Trump, and people don't understand why that situation is. A simple explanation to it.
I imagine that's a derogatory term, and you have spoken a lot about unifying people here.
Sure.
Do you think that kind of language is going to unify people when you speak like that, using that language towards people?
Well, you said you didn't know what the term meant a little while ago.
Well, I'm using my context clues.
I think people, there's a lot of problems going on because people are disingenuous in the way they speak. And, you know, Trump's been a real authentic person. He's authentic in the way he speaks. He doesn't mince words, and I try to be real and authentic in the way I speak. And so, you know, a lot of the problems is, you know, the lack of authenticity.
My final question of our live portion here, we talk about the unification portion of this. You talk about Democrats also being on board with this. Why would they be on board with this? It says vote for Trump. He's a Republican. He's the opposite party.
Sure, that's easy. People love beautiful signs. They love historic.
But they don't love him. Democrats don't love him.
Beautiful signs. They love historic American figures, and people I would love a statue for Obama in my community, and people love signs, and they love tributes to American historical presidents and figures, and Donald Trump's a historical figure, an important one, maybe the most important one in a long time, and so people like the tribute to him, and they like the fact that it's bringing attention to the community and enthusiasm to the community and economic activity to the community.
So for our live portion, one more quick question. Do you think you're making more of a political statement than anything else? Is that what you're trying to do here?
I think I'm helping bring the country together because for a long time people have been scared to say they admit Donald Trump, and that's a big problem. Right now you got lots of people starting to join me and speak up that wouldn't have spoke up before. Elton John, Mike Tyson speaking up. You wouldn't have heard him say things like that before. 50 Cent, Lil Wayne, Ice Cube. He's got almost the entire rap community speaking up on his behalf. And Elon Musk, as we all know. So right now I think Donald Trump's the unity candidate, and I'm doing what I can to help bring people together.
I want to go a little bit deeper into the unifying portion of this, because you talk about Trump unifying the country, but some of his language, we talked a little bit about some of the verbiage you chose, but he talked about Kamala Harris using nicknames. He's done that his whole career. Do you think that's unifying in the way he uses that language?
That wasn't the verbiage I told. That was what I was told.
No,
the situation is, you know,
okay, yeah.
The TDS thing, which you brought up, you know, that was what I was told. So I never spoke to the mayor about President Trump. I was told that's what he has. And so
I just mean Trump at his rallies,
yeah.
The way he talks about the opposition, the political parties, Kamala Harris, and more on the general
Sure.
side.
So, you know, when I first got into Trump, I wasn't a political person, and somebody said, you know, what's happening is if you listen to his rallies, he gets misrepresented a lot. And I started listening, and I heard the misrepresentation firsthand. One of the biggest ones was in the beginning when he had the wall thing, and they were hitting him with that, saying it's a really bad thing. I listened. I heard the guy say, you got to build a wall, but it has to have a big, beautiful door because we want people coming to America. And the media never mentioned that. You had the misrepresentation on the Fine People hoax that the media spun, and Joe Biden tragically based his campaign upon. It was an entire hoax that really put the entire the entire community that's backing Trump on the defense. It was really an unfair thing to do.
Charlottesville certainly was taken out of context, even by Joe Biden in the debate, and I think that's certainly a lot of truth to that. And at your company level, back to that unification, we should talk about the R word issue. That was a couple months ago, and that got a lot of traction, as you know. Do you think that's unifying? I know I go back to this, but this has been a big part of what you did on Monday. I mean, there's people, I'm sure, that were offended by that.
By that, well, do you
by
know
the
comedian
R-word campaign?
Yeah, so the comedian.
I understand. Yes,
the
but
comedian
do you think he represents anyone with a disability?
That comedian is uplifting for anyone overcoming adversity. If you know the guy, and I know him personally, he's a personal friend. I was on the phone with him today. He's overcome tremendous adversity to get where he got in life and create a life for himself. I don't think many people could overcome what that guy overcame. So I'm proud to help him elevate himself and get his name out there because he's inspiring people. And you can't believe the number of people that thank me. I think the people that are upset about that didn't really understand the person that made the joke.
Have you seen your business change at all over the past couple months? Since this, what has been the reaction been?
I like solving big problems, and this is a big problem that I want to solve. I've lived my life. the big critique of business people is they worry too much about making money, and I really haven't focused on making money for a long time. I focus on doing good things for the world, and I tend to make a lot of money in the process, but I don't think about making money. I'm not thinking about making money right now. The people that are around me know I've never been that way, and I got a lot of loyalty to my people, and they have a lot of loyalty to me. Believe it or not, I never had a salaried person quit since I started the company over 14 years ago.
What problem are you trying to solve?
The hatred and the lack of division, and the division in the country today. There's a problem where I say about 10 million people hate really hundreds of millions of Trump supporters, and they passionately hate them. And it's okay to dislike a candidate. That's normal, and that's to be expected. But to hate his supporters is really a problem, and that emanates from the rhetoric coming on the other side, starting with the deplorable comment that was a platform that Hillary Clinton ran on, and then Joe Biden followed up with the Fine People hoax.
Do you think that's happening on both sides? There are extremes to both parties.
Sure. I listen to Donald Trump, I listen to his speeches, and he's never persuaded me to dislike my fellow Americans. And I know a lot of Trump supporters, and they don't want to lose their Democrat friends. They want to maintain their friendships with their friends that are members of the Democrat Party, but the same isn't true of the other side. And that's really due to the rhetoric coming out, in my view, of the other side. Donald Trump's never persuaded me to be more, to think differently of Americans that are different than me or think different than me.
I know that it's been talked about a lot, but we talk about jobs and manufacturing and immigrants taking those jobs, and legal immigrants at that. And you look at what he said about Ohio, eating the cats and the dogs, and the Haitians there that are there legally.
Sure.
Those are, you could say, people that are your, I guess, colleagues in this world, or I guess, they're here to help provide, especially for something that's really important to you. For him to say that, I guess, how did it make you feel when he's talking about a group of people like that, in that vein?
Sure, I happen to be an expert on this topic.
Yeah, you mentioned you've been to Mexico and you've lived there.
Well, I live
right?
in Mexico.
Yeah, you live in Mexico.
I married a Venezuelan refugee, and I also lived in Dominican Republic, which is the neighboring country to Haiti. And what happened when President Trump left the White House is they promoted open borders, and I saw firsthand people in Mexico, they all had a conversation about should they come to America. And when they had that conversation, some people want to come and some people don't. And what really happened is we separated families, because people that are in these countries, they don't know what they're necessarily getting into when they come here. And some of them have great situations in their home countries. People don't understand it. Usually the older people want to stay in their home countries, and the younger people want to come. And when they come and they get asylum, they can't go back. So these people never get to see their families again. They never get to see their families for Christmas. They don't get to go back for holidays. They have to stay here for 10 years because they came here under asylum, and many came because they knew all they had to do was say, I want asylum, and Joe Biden gave it to them. What
faction of immigration works for you as someone that is a business leader in the community? And obviously we know that immigrants lend themselves to the workforce, the economy. What works for you in this light? Because this is probably really important as you continue your career here.
Sure, I look at people that pretend to be business people like Mark Cuban that want all this immigration, and other business leaders that want it. And what they really want is cheap labor to run their companies. They want people here fighting for inexpensive labor, and that's wrong for everybody. A lot of people have great situations in their home countries, and these other countries would get better if we weren't constantly sucking people out of their countries. People in Mexico spend their time thinking about coming here often instead of thinking about building up Mexico. And for people that never visited Mexico, they should go. It's a beautiful country. Dominican Republic's a beautiful place too. Some people should come here, but it should be a legal process because it's something you should think about.
How about your investment in Amsterdam now as we look a little bit into the future? Sure. Has this changed how you feel about the jobs you've created there, about staying there moving forward, this whole whatever has happened here? I mean, now you have the sign up. How long is that going to be up? How long are you going to be in Amsterdam?
I think the sign's elevating Amsterdam, and I've done a lot to make Amsterdam a better place, not because I have an incredible heart, really. I just did it because it's the right thing to do. I live there, and if you live in a place, it should be what you should be thinking about. You should be trying to make your home city, your home country better. That really speaks to the immigration thing again. What we do with immigration, we're the kings of marketing, and we market so well. People want to leave their home countries and come here, and they spend time thinking about coming here instead of thinking about building up their home community. So I'm focused on building up my home community. I can tell you firsthand, Mexico's a beautiful place. Dominican Republic is a really nice place to live too. And if people spent more effort towards building up their home communities, we'd have a much better situation. Immigration should be legal because people should be spending their time thinking about it, not packing up backpacks and trying to cross the border and often getting raped in the process.
Would you go back to the table with Mayor Cinquanti to talk about all this and see if you can come to a common ground on the sign and what's happened here?
I think the sign should stay up. I think he should support the sign. I think he should support the sign because it's a good thing for the community. I think he should come back to the table and talk to my attorneys and talk to my people that he, sort of mistreated and say, listen, Anthony did a good thing, I made a mistake.
Mr. Constantino, we appreciate your time. Thanks for coming in.
Sure, pleasure.
Thanks for listening. Hit the subscribe button right now so you can stay up to date on these news-making conversations about the issues impacting New Yorkers the most: power and politics.